Guys, I'm super excited to partner with Move Bumpers for this episode. I was texting Kevin from Move Bumpers, like, hey man, what do you think? Do you want a piece of this? And he's like, bro, that thing looks cool. Let's do it. I don't know if that's actually how he sounds. That's the vibe that I got. So we partnered with Move Bumpers for this. Badass bumper on this thing. It does work. I even hit a coyote the first day that I was driving with it done. You wouldn't even know. And I smacked it. I was doing the speed limit. Coyote's gone. Bumper's still here. It works. These things are awesome. So it fits perfectly. Everything's super precise. Since starting to work with them, I have found out they laser scan the front of all the vehicles and then they laser cut out all the pieces for everything. Like, everything's all laser done and like
frickin' laser beams.
There was a point even when I was building it where I was like, I feel like I need to be doing more, but everything just fits perfectly and I'm done. Awesome project, man. This is Lego for adults. I love it. It was a great time. So use the link down below to head over to movebumpers.com, order your bumper, use code EPIC at checkout. You will save some moolah. Everybody likes to save money, right? Yeah, so that's my gift to you. There you go. Thanks to Move Bumpers for partnering on this video. I know it's been a little while since we've had this thing on the channel. Don't worry, all of the build episodes are filmed. They're in the tank. They need to be working on. There was just too many things, so I had to just make a decision of, hold on, I'm not making money on YouTube yet, so that's not my priority. I gotta go where my money gets made, business stuff. I'm not in Canada right now. I'm in Texas right now. It's hot. It's snowing in Canada. It's nice and warm down here. It's pretty good. This thing looks wildly different than what you saw last video. A lot has happened in the last 6 months. I'm down here trying to start a second business, and that takes all my time right now. We're doing what we can. I do want to bring all this story to you. I want to show you guys all the action of all this stuff. It looks freaking awesome. I bring my motorcycle with me everywhere now. I'm living the dream. It's pretty dang sweet. Just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update before we get into things. I know this is going to be a long episode. It seems to be a thing. People are like watching these long episodes. I watch long episodes on YouTube. So that's what we're doing now. Instead of splitting this whole video up into 4 or 5 parts, you get it all right here in one shot. I made it funny. I made it interesting. Let's get into the video. Outside filming is not as good as I thought it was going to be. Guys, we're back for another episode with the Epic Ambo. It's here, and we are not in Canada anymore. I made an executive decision that I didn't want to be where it was minus 30 anymore. So now I'm plus 30 for the Canadians. For the Americans, it's 90 degrees out here. We're in Texas. It's a little bit windier than I thought. I was excited to film outside. I'd be like, ooh, it's nice and sunny. It's warm. But it is windy. The sun is kind of, it's doing its thing. Anyways, we're gonna get into putting a bumper on this guy. Now, I have recently partnered with a company called Move. This is upside down, but if you flip this upside down, it says Move. Move Bumpers. I was looking around on the internet for what's a badass bumper we could put on this thing. Is it gonna look cool? Who makes all sorts of stuff? I found Move pretty quick. They are pretty out there. They do a lot of social media, so I was like, cool. I contacted them. I was like, hey guys, you wanna work together on this? And they're like, that thing is awesome. Yes, we do. This company, Move Bumpers, they make bumpers for every vehicle that's out there, pretty much. And if they don't make one for your vehicle, pretty sure you can contact them and they're gonna make a bumper for you. Now, this comes in a bunch of pieces. They have different options there. You can get one that's prefabbed, you can get one that's bolted together, or you can get one that's welded together, so you do it yourself. So this whole box right here, that whole box, we're gonna get into that later, but they have all of the pieces for this bumper. Oh, by the way, this is way thicker steel than I thought it was gonna be. So with the Move bumper, they give you all the pieces for this so that you can build it yourself. If you're the type of person that likes to build stuff yourself, this is the perfect thing for you. All you need is a welder. I'm gonna take you through kind of the main supplies that you need for welding. You don't necessarily need all of this stuff, but it is good to have a lot of this stuff and your PPE, this kind of stuff. Everybody floats around on what's the best thing to use. Use it at your own comfort level. You'll figure out pretty quick what do you need, what do you not need. I'll give you the insight on what's the max PPE that you need to wear, need to go buy if you want to look into, if you're looking at getting into this yourself. And then everything from there on out, you can just minus that and do what you want. Back in my 20s, when I was in my first shop, I was welding in 3 inches of water on a pallet in sandals with extension cords dragging around everywhere. So right now, everything that I'm wearing is a level up from that. I didn't die, so that's good. First up, you're gonna need a welder. That is an important thing. Now, what type of welder you need for this kind of stuff, it's not like crazy structural. You don't need the biggest, baddest, awesomest welder out there. This welder Fortunately for me, I'm staying at a buddy's house down here in Texas. He runs a drilling and blasting company, has lots of heavy equipment stuff, and he's like, I need a new welder. So if you want to just go buy a welder, I need it for my business anyways, you're welcome to use it. Oh, right on. I won't say no to that. So we picked up this welder here. It's a MiG 170. It has 110 capability, 240 capability. It does stick, it does MIG, it does TIG, it does lots of stuff. Now you don't need one this fancy to start. Again, there's a million different options in welders out there. You can get away with doing with a fairly cheap welder, $200-300. Often what I tell guys when they want to start getting into welding, go on Facebook Marketplace. There are lots of used options there. I ran a business with a Facebook Marketplace welder. I used that welder for 12 years, and it was old when I got it, and it worked. It actually just quit working the other month. Anyways, moving on. I will leave it up to you to research what type of welder you need, as there are a plethora of options. Most of them will work. Let's get into the stuff that we're gonna need. I don't know if this thing is gonna blow away. That's why I got my little windsock on here. It does help. All right, PPE. There's a whole wide selection of stuff that you need. You don't have to have everything. One thing you do need to have is a welding mask. So this is an auto darkening mask. What happens right here basically is you're creating lightning by sticking two pieces of metal together. Electricity flows through there and it magically melts it all together. You'll discover that in your welding courses that you look up on YouTube University later. Auto darkening helmet. It's never good to look at lightning unless you're shielded properly. So this is like super sunglasses for when you're welding. You can look at where you're doing, what your bead is, as that's going along there, and it allows you to see what you are doing and not blind yourself. If you weld without one of these on, if you're looking straight at that lightning, your eyes will actually burn the cornea in there. You will have to go to the hospital. It feels like you got sandpaper on your eyeballs. It's very uncomfortable. It's called welder's flash. It's happened to me multiple times because I was just like, I'll just do it one time, and you're like, oh, let me peek. Oh, okay. And you know, moth to a flame, that kind of thing, it happens. Get an auto darkening helmet. That's my recommendation at a bare minimum. Another thing that you might want out here, it's hot, so we have welding sleeves. So these just go on your sleeves, protects your arm from burns. There's lots of sparks that are happening, protects your forearms and stuff from burns. If you don't want to wear a full leather jacket, if you're like going into commercial welding and you're welding all day long, yeah, get a jacket. You don't want to have these things. You got to pull them up all the time and all that jazz. Gloves. There's many people that are going to argue for days about what kind of gloves you use. I use gloves so that you can touch metal. This stuff gets hot when you're welding it. You're literally melting two pieces of metal together. I do it so that I get hot. The backs of it are not protected with leather. You know, some guys will say you have to wear leather everything all the time, all pants. Yeah, it's 100 degrees out here. I'm not wearing that right now because I don't have to if I don't want to. Other safety stuff, like I said in the past, I have done this in flip-flops in water. I'm deciding to wear my steel toes. This is leather here. If you're welding on top of you, all that kind of stuff, you're gonna get sparks on your feet. It is uncomfortable. It's just wear shoes. That's what I would say at a minimum. Shoes, glove, glasses, that's a bare minimum. You can wear a t-shirt, you're fine. You can wear shorts. If the sparks are bothering your legs, you can weld like this and you'll be okay. I mean, you're not gonna do as good of a weld. So that's kind of your PPE that you need. Moving on into the next stuff, what you're also gonna need for welding. This we don't need, this is for paint afterwards. This is truck bed liner going on there. Give it a good top coat when we're done. Right angle magnets. When you are fabricating stuff, right angle magnets work good. By the way, I got all this stuff at Harbor Freight. It was about $1,000 for all this stuff just to get set up. This sticks on here. You need to stick two pieces of metal together. You can stick another one on there. Right angle magnets, they are very useful. These were $5 a piece. You need to stick stuff together when you're making angles and whatnot. Hold your metal in places. You can run a weld in there. Right angle magnets are very good. These ones are variable adjustable magnets. Gee golly God. These magnets here, you can adjust the angles of things. So if you got two plates and you need them at funny angles like that, and you're like, oh, I don't need 90 degrees, I need 37¼ degrees, bam, yeah, you can change that. So a couple different magnet options. Again, this stuff, we bought this all at Harbor Freight this morning. These were $5 a piece. I want to say this was another $5 for these magnets. Basic stuff you need when you're fabricating. Oh, I forgot one thing. Vice grips and a grinder. We'll get into both of these yet. Vice grips, very important. Now, I brought half my shop with me in this thing in case I need to do some fabricating on the road or I need to fix this thing on the road. This is stuff I already had in my shop. There's a lot of different types of vice grips for doing body work, that type of thing. But getting yourself a good setup, get a variety pack of vice grips on Amazon. I don't know how much they are. They're not a lot of money for a decent set. Get some of these big clampy ones. This allows you to get in and around angles and hook on certain stuff, and you can clamp things together. And like vice grips, a variety pack is a good thing to have. You're probably gonna want vice grips. Grinder. All right, we're not all perfect, right? If there's like a little sharp bit that comes off of your weld, maybe you're learning how to do it. This does work good for that. You can take off sharp corners, that kind of thing, something that's gonna hurt you later on. You don't wanna have that. You don't wanna have sharp bits on there, right? You don't wanna cut yourself open. So have a grinder, very, very important thing that you're gonna need. Iced coffee, another very important thing when you're down here in Texas and it's hot. Let's make some room here. You are gonna want a floor jack for this purpose, at least. For doing a bumper, the bumper gets heavy. You put all that metal together. I gotta fabricate it while it's on the vehicle. I need something to hold it there. So having a floor jack, jack stands, something to hold it up in place there. You hold the pieces in place. You need some help with that. Do you have to have this? No, you can make a stand out of a couple pieces of 2x4, whatever you got laying around. Anything that's just gonna hold it up. If you have an automotive shop or you wanna get into more mechanical type stuff, you're gonna end up having a floor jack anyways. It is a very useful tool to have. Back to this, we got a couple more things to go. Soapstone. Soapstone lets you write on here. This was $1. Soapstone is what we use to write on steel, because if you just use a pencil, it's the same color as this. Sorry, I'm trying to open this so I can show you what it looks like. Soapstone is very brittle, so you gotta be kind of careful with it, but you can draw all over your steel and it just washes off later. It's soap. You can't do that with a pencil. You won't see it, but I wanna write my name, C-O-D-Y, Cody. There we go. Now I know that this bumper is mine. So if you're going out to buy welding supplies, buy some soapstone, but then keep it in a place where it's not gonna get knocked. It is very brittle. It does break pretty easily. But again, it was $1. If it breaks, it's not the end of the world. Another thing you're gonna wanna get, extra tips.
Nice.
Extra tips for your welder. We're gonna be running 0.035 welding wire. Anything bigger than that, then you need a little bit of a bigger welder. That gets into like the nerdy welding specs. Again, you will learn that when you go do YouTube University and learn how to weld, how to run proper beads, how to run beads down, how to run beads up, how to go upside down, how to go top, figure eights, horseshoes, whatever you want to call it. Literally, there's so many things to know about welding. That is why people are just welders. They're fabricators. That is their job. They just do welding. There's lots of stuff to know. To get into the nitty gritty of it, I have 0.035 tips, extra ones, just in case I need them. We're running 0.035 flux core wire. I'll get into a little bit of education on that. I'm gonna pull the welder out of here. We're gonna look at some of the components and stuff on here so that we can get into which type of welding we're gonna do on here, and then we can go from there. This is the fun part where we pause the video because this welder did not come with the gun. The trigger part, I need that. It's in here. Ta-da! Hold on, let's clear the table. All right, actually, I'm just gonna explain this as I unbox everything here. So first things up, regulator. Now, we're not using this right now for this type of welding because I'm at a buddy's house. I didn't know if he had Argon subscription. I don't know how it works down here in the States. I'm from Canada. It's totally different there. You can't buy it unless you have a shop and you got a number and an account, all that jazz. There's two different types of MIG welding you can do. You can weld with flux core, which means this has a shielding gas built into the wire. Or if you use non-flux core wire, that means you have to have a tank of gas here, and then that gas runs through this regulator. You're gonna set this to about 15 to 25 CFH, I think, cubic feet per hour is how that's measured. But you don't need to know that for this video. We're not using that right now. That you're gonna learn in your how to weld videos that you find on YouTube. So because we're using flux core wire, we just need this wire. The difference there being is this is a little bit dirtier because that shielding agent is built into the wire. That's the flux that's in the wire. It goes through the center of the core. Back to the welder. As we unbox this thing, we can find all sorts of different stuff here. This will be our wire speed on this side. This will be our voltage, and this will probably be our amperage. And again, on this video, we're not going into the nerdy stuff of how to weld. I'm more so just giving you an overview of the basic stuff that you need, the how-to welding videos. There's other people that can explain that way better than I can, so I'm gonna leave it up to them. But as far as assembly goes, this guy, it's gonna go in here, but it's gonna lock in a certain way. This should have some sort of grease or oil just to help it slide in. A little bit of lubrication. You can never have too much lubrication. Spit on your fingers. Don't completely cover it, but just enough to put it in. Just the idea there is you're not ripping the O-ring as you put it in. Now, this is a special hose. This hose allows the wire to come through here, through the welder, as well as it lets the gas come through when you are using a gas welder. Since we're just using flux core, that doesn't really matter. This hose right here, this hose just allows this spool of wire to run through there. Shoop, 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 once we plug it in. So, moving on to the electrical side of this thing. Now, because this is a 240 volt and a 110 volt welder, that means it can run on both. If you don't have 240 volt available to you, you can get by with just using 110. Gosh, how does this thing open? Come on. If you look at this plug and you're like, wow, I don't have one of those in my house. That's what I plug my oven into in my house. Do I have to unplug my oven to plug my welder in? Yes, you can do that. It is a thing. But then lengthwise, you're sort of limited to welding in your kitchen, which your wife might not want you to do. But if you have an oven in the garage, this is also a dryer plug. It plugs in the dryer. But because this is a 110, it comes with an adapter here. Bam, that's just a regular style plug. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. There you go. Plug that into a very good extension cord. Don't use a cheap, crappy one that doesn't have a ground pin on it. Please, heavy-duty extension cord, or plug this right into your wall. But heavy-duty stuff. You're running a lot of power through here. Use something that can handle a lot of power. Now, when you're stick welding or arc welding, all right, editor, take out everything about all the stick welding parts. This welder doesn't do that. I'm looking at it now. I thought it did that. It doesn't. Fun fact, you can use this if you add a couple batteries. All it takes is electricity and you're arcing electricity over. So if you take a couple batteries, wire them together in series, and then you have this on one side and you have your ground on the other side, and you can weld. You can use a coat hanger. I've done that before. That's real like backyard stuff. But welding, all welding is just using electricity to heat up metal, melt it together in a single spot, and then when it cools down again, it's become one.
Yeah, boy.
All right, as we continue on with the unboxing of everything on this welder, this thing comes with everything. This is your gas hose that goes to your tank. Again, we're not using this. That goes to your tank right there. Now, back to this big old mess of wires here. This has a positive and a negative on it. Now, the type of welding that we're doing, this guy is going to be our negative. That just goes in there. Now, very basically, ground goes on whatever metal part you're welding because you want it to ground. So the welder puts out a positive electric charge coming through this wire. When you zap it on there, it connects to the ground. It creates a bridge, that the flow of electricity, and it melts it as it goes in there. And that is essentially how welding works. All right, let's get this roll of welding wire on here, in there, on, in, whatever you call it. These are spare parts. Everybody's got to have a knife. Flip it. Hi-ya. There you go. Put that in our pocket so it doesn't blow away because we're responsible adults who don't litter. All right, welding wire. You know what tool I forgot to buy? Welding pliers. Welding pliers are very handy because they have side cutters in them and they have tip cleaners in them. Sometimes this end here, that gets all plugged up full of spatter and whatnot. Welding pliers, you stick them in there and you can clean this out real good. Or it has the ability to grab this tip on here. You can grab the tip, you can turn it out. As things heat up, they bend a little bit, or you get metal stuck on certain things in certain places. And welding pliers are a very good thing to have. Since I don't have that, I have other pliers. Hold on. Again, get yourself a set of multi-use vice grips. That is very handy in this scenario where I forgot my welding pliers at home because I wasn't really planning, well, maybe it was. Whatever, I forgot them at home. Vice grips, a very universal tool. The reason this doesn't work now that I think of it is because I need to cut the end of this off. I'll tell you why in a second. Wow. All right, we got this guy plugged in. You can tell the welder works because the fan will turn on. Can you hear the fan? The fan is fanning. It's my biggest fan right now. Anyways, what I was saying before, sorry, one thing at a time. I'm trying to explain 6 things at one time. When you put on this spool of wire, whoop, careful, careful. Don't unspool on me here, Bessie. As I was saying, when you put on your spool of wire, be careful, this guy's gonna wanna unwind on you and become a whole big mess. What happens there, when you put it all back together, it's like a slinky. If you get that slinky or an old phone cord. You guys remember phone cords from back in the day? If you get into that situation, as it's pulling it through, it's gonna kink and then it jams and then your welder jams up and you're like, oh, dang it. Keep this taut so that it doesn't unwind on you. Put your roll in there. This guy, oh, sorry, there's a pin on the back here. This pin goes, there's a hole in your welding roll. That pin needs to line up like so. This guy goes on. That's reverse thread. There you go. See that? Oh, no. Hold on. Wait. No! That's exactly what I didn't want to happen. We're going to save it. I guess this is a good example of when that happens. Sometimes your option is to just cut it off and start over. Or if it's not too bad, you can pull it through and then just wind it up again. Like that. That'll work. Also, as you note, your fingers will get real dirty real fast with this flux core wire. It's just the nature of how it is. Welding is a dirty business. If you wanted to stay clean while you weld, this is not the thing for you. Okay, that's on there. Now, what you're going to want to do, cut the end of that off with your side cutters, because these things that have those sharp edges on there, there's a metal sleeve in here, and it has to go through this pull wire, or through this little motor on here. If there's any sort of like kink in there, it sometimes gets jammed, and you will have issues. So we feed this through here. This is very simple and explanatory. If you've never done this before, your welding manual will have all the instructions on how to set it up. It's very easy to do. Put that in there. This guy comes down and it locks into place. You have a tensioner here. Over time, as it wears out, you'll need to tighten that so that the two wheels in here, they grab it and they pull that wire through. So now that's in there. You can let go of this. Turn your welder back on. What I like to do, turn my welding speed up high. Now that I got it turned on, make sure there's no kinks in here. We're just gonna hold this down, let it pull the wire through. Then you just gotta sit here and wait for it to go all the way through the line and then come out here. All right, so now we know we're close to the end. This wheel is turning, but this is not pulling anything. So this is the wrong tip size. This is a 0.030 tip. This is 0.035 wire. That means it's bigger than this hole, so it does not go through there. This is why I bought bigger tips. So I'm just gonna put this original 0.030 tip in there because you never know if you need it in the future. It's gonna go in this little bag of spare parts. And typically what I do with my welder is all these spare parts, once they're in here, roll them up nice and small, and then just shove them somewhere inside here. That way they're out of the way. That way you know where they are all the time. They're just always with the welder. So we're gonna put the right size tip on the end there. Again, store your extras right down there. Perfect. Now, 0.035. Look at that. That slides on there. Tighten that in there. This guy goes on here. And before you know it, ta-da, look at that, it works. Now, that's not a good weld. None of these settings are set right. Hot tip for you, if you get unflavored creatine monohydrate, then you can put it in your iced coffee and you don't even taste it, but yet you're taking creatine, which is good for your brain. I am the way your son. All right, continuing on. I know this video is getting a little bit lengthy, but that's the setup of things. But there's a couple more things that we need to do. See all these knobs in the front here? They're all different settings. You need different settings on there depending on what type of steel you're working with. What we got on here, we're gonna start on this side here and we're gonna work our way that way. So we have material, wire type, shielding gas, polarity setting, wire size settings, material thickness for 120 volts, material thickness for 240 volts. So we're using 120 volt right now. We're gonna start over here. Material, mild steel. This is mild steel. We got mild steel, stainless steel, or aluminum. Aluminum welding, that's a whole nother thing. We're not getting into that. Stainless steel, we're not getting into that either. We're working with mild steel, okay? This is mild steel. Wire type, solid wire, flux cord wire, ER308, different types of welding. We're using flux cord wire, okay? When you go buy your supplies, it's important to know what you are doing. Gasless flux cord wire, that's what we're using. Mild steel, E71T GS, E71T11. I don't know what the 11 stands for, but this is GS, whatever, E71T flux cord wire. As long as it says flux cord wire, you're good to go. So, flux cord wire, shielding gas, none. We don't have a gas with this. Polarity setting, DCEN. Look at that. According to this, I did plug it in the wrong way. So I need to have this guy come out, basically, and just Basically, I need to switch these two guys around. I had them plugged in the wrong way. That's why it's important to look at the manual. It'll still make sparky, but it won't weld very good. I mean, other than that, the only thing you really need to know is if you put too much tension on that feed wheel in there, you'll knurl the wire, and that will wear out your shield inside here sooner. So you want to back it off so it's just enough that it's pulling the wire through, but it's not squeezing down on the wire and then creating lots of little sharp edges on it. It will still work for a little while, but it won't work for a long while. This tent wants to leave. It's getting windy. No, gosh. Doing this video outside was not as good of an idea as I thought it was going to be. Basics on base, how to weld. Okay, getting back to this. Sorry, I got to hold on to this tent with one hand so that the thing doesn't blow away. Getting back to this, we got all that, the wires hooked up correctly now. Again, every welder is a little bit different. As you're setting up a new welder, if you're new to this, you're gonna go through the manual, follow it. I don't need to explain to you, you're just getting double explanation at that point. We're not here to waste time, we're here to get stuff done. So as we continue to go down the flow chart here, mild steel, flux core wire, no shielding gas, wires are set to DCEN, wire size. Now, 0.030 is gonna be this green line here. 0.035 is gonna be this white line here. So we're gonna do that one. Next one, setting, wire speed, voltage, inductance. So it tells you what this number is going to be your wire speed, the next number is going to be your voltage, the next number is going to be your inductance. We go to our material thickness here, and it's on 120 volt. So we're looking in this category right here, our flux cord, wire speed, all that, blah, blah, blah. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be one of these numbers. So depending how thick this metal is, depending how thick this bumper metal is, that's the box we're going to choose for our settings. Okay, hold on, let me go measure this. All right, so getting my measuring tape here. If I pull this out, this looks to be 1/8 of an inch thick. So 1/8 inch wire, hold on. So on here, 1/8 inch wire, that's the thickest one on here. So then we go down, 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 down to the burning ring of fire. So our wire speed is gonna be 200. Now, these numbers are about approximate. Every single weld that you do is gonna need fine tune adjustments. So it's just giving you a starting point of where to set your settings on there so that you're starting at a good point. As you get into it, you're just going to adjust and dial it as you need to as you get into it. Again, you're going to learn that in your welding how-to course on YouTube University when you go search that after you watch this video. So wire speed is going to be 200, voltage is going to be at number 17, and then our inductance is going to be between 5 and 10. So if we turn this guy on, welder turn on, initiate. I don't know what 2T and 4T means. What does that tell us? This welder has a fancy 2T or 4T switch. So 2T is two touch. That means you pull it down, it welds. When you let go, it stops welding. 4T means you pull it down, or you pull it, and then it'll just keep welding, and you don't have to hold the trigger down, and then you click it again, and then it turns off. Two different types of welding. One, you have to hold it down the whole time while you're welding. The other one, if you got like a really long bead to do, you just hold it once, tap, and it just welds until you tap it again, and then it will turn itself off. I'm an old school guy. I like the 2T. You hold that down, and then you do your weld that way. That's what we're gonna use. So, remember those numbers that we saw before? 217, I think it was, and 5 to 10. Let's double check. 217, 5 to 10. So, on here, these numbers are impossible to see in the sunshine. If I do this, can you see? A/WFS, that's gonna be our wire speed. Our wire speed we want at 200, 202, whatever, that's good enough. Our voltage we want it at 17, right? There we go. Yep. And then our inductance we want between 5 and 10. So we'll put it at 6, okay? Now, when we hold it on here, we should be able to see it weld. Watch this. Now, welding 101. It won't weld. If your ground is not connected, this won't weld. It won't do anything. But as soon as you put that on there, ooh, it sparks. Sparky, sparky, sparky. Look at that. There you go. See, that's not a very good weld. That's not what you want to do. But you can see that it is now working. So we essentially have our welder set up now. So we can get on to the next part, the exciting part, starting to build this bumper. All right, as we get into more of this, I'm gonna put my gloves on just because I'm gonna be handling a lot of steel. It makes your hands dirty and gross and all that jazz, and it's just a little bit more comfortable. I'm a wussy baby, I know. You can make fun of me all you want, I don't care. We got our magnets. Stay. Ta-da. Let's get into this big pig. Wow, guys, they spray foamed this all in here. Look at this. This is all spray foamed together. I guess so the parts don't jump around as much. I'll be honest, I was not expecting a bunch of steel plates to be insulated like this. I'm impressed. This is where we're going to take our welding box. Throw all that foam in there. So that's one piece. This is a piece of paper. Ooh, there's a sticker on here. Look at that. That's going on the sticker wall on the ambo. Let me go put that with the stickers. Okay, that's kind of cool. It's got everybody on the team. It's got their signatures on here. Kind of neat. All right, now we're just pulling out all the pieces. This company's pretty cool, guys. They pre-cut all your pieces, everything that you need, all this stuff. Plates to bolt it on later. We gotta cut this thing out of here. They insulated it so well. I knew I was gonna do that. Oh, I cut through the supply order. All right, I'm gonna glue that back together later. This is where your magnets are good. Look, it stops your papers from flying away. So to get back into this, okay, so this bumper comes with all these pieces, and you weld this sucker together. Now, me being the adventurous person that I was, I cut into the description of which pieces are what and kind of telling you what goes where, which leaves me to sort of basically just figure this out on my own now. But I feel like if you're the type of person that's taking on this sort of project anyways, you should be able to figure that out. Shackles, they don't go right there. This goes on the front part. This is where your clevises go on, your hooks go on. We'll get into that later. These brackets, I don't know where these go right now, I'll be honest, but I will figure it out at a certain point. This looks exactly like a winch mount. So the bumper that I bought has a hole cut in the front for a winch to mount, so the winch would mount on here. This part probably welds somewhere onto there so that you can bolt your winch onto it. Again, more pieces, probably bracing, some sort of thing that goes inside. If I had to guess, does this go in there? I don't know. We'll figure it out when we get into it. That's my fault. Or if they could put that paper in a different spot next time, might be okay. So this is the stinger that's gonna go on front. That sticks on there, that gets welded on. All the pieces, everything here is all pre-cut, everything ready to go. I just have to weld it together and build the bumper on the front of this thing. All right, guys, we got a whole table full of parts here. I guess the next step there is to take that bumper off, and then we can start putting these things in the right spot and fabbing it all up, and we can put it in the right spot. We can figure out where things go, and we can start getting on welding this stuff. So let's get to it, shall we? Okay. Guys, I've been a mechanic for many, many years, and I did neglect a lot of PPE because I was like, I'm a young teenager. That's cool. I don't need that stuff. I can handle it. Now, at 36 years old, my body's starting to deteriorate. Let me just tell you, ear protection, it's not worth it. Wear earplugs. Even these are, like, I can play music in these. Cool, it's great. Get the ones that you can have pass through, so if someone is talking to you, double tap it, then you can hear them talk to you, no problem. You don't even have to take them out. Ear protection, please, just wear it. Your ears wear out pretty easily, actually, so use hearing protection. It's worth it. Eye protection, I used to think safety glasses were dumb. Not anymore. You do enough of this stuff and you're like, oh, eye protection actually makes a lot of sense. Let's do that. So we gotta pull this old bumper off here now. I'm gonna start doing that. That is the next step. We're gonna try. It's a little bit of a, we just gotta figure out how to make it work, but we're gonna make it work. Like these plastic clips. I have a plastic clip puller tool at home, but now I'm using side cutters. Now the process for pulling your bumper off is different on every vehicle. This is not a specific video on how to do it. This video is about the quality of that bumper, and we're gonna put it together. Now, the reason I'm not making a specific video is because I don't think there's a lot of people that have an E350 19. Now, the reason I'm not making a specific video is I don't think there's a lot of people with a 1999 E350 ambulance that are doing a bumper conversion on it. So, since there's not a lot of people looking that up, this video is just going to be about a move bumper. We're putting a move bumper on. So, watch a YouTube video on how to take your bumper off your specific vehicle. Oh, I will give you one tip. As you're taking off all the bolts for your bumper, the one that's the easiest to get to, just leave that on a tiny little bit, like just hand tight, so that if the bumper falls, then it's not going to fall on you, because that can hurt sometimes. So leave that on there, just hand tight. So you take all your your bolts off, and then once you're ready to take it off, then you just undo that last one and you can take it off. Also, my apologies for not having a cameraman. I'm on the road right now, and I just have to do all the videos by myself. So we're just gonna have to do everything on a tripod right now, because that's my option. Work with what you got. All right, fortunately, these bumpers come off pretty easy. Just 4 bolts on the back. Undo those. This guy comes off. Ta-da! New bumper. Bolts on. So that's how that's gonna work. All right, what we're gonna do now, I'm just gonna tack this stuff in place. Before I get final fitment on everything, you just tack it in place so that it's all there, and then you weld everything together after that. That's how that works. So we're gonna tack this in place. I got magnets holding everything where they're supposed to be. I have followed the instructions on my phone. They gave me a QR code, I scanned it, brought me to the wrong vehicle, searched for the right vehicle. It scared me for a second there. I thought they sent me a bumper for a Chevy Express, not a Ford E-Series van. got some errands that I gotta run, so we're gonna hop on the bike, but first I have to undo it. It's also my laundry line. That's where I hang up my laundry while I'm hanging out with this thing. So I gotta hop on the bike. I gotta go to Walmart. I gotta return some stuff. I bought a power adapter for this thing, and the moment I plugged it in, it popped because I use way more power than what it's supposed to. And Walmart's not really known for the highest quality electronics. So I did order the right stuff on Amazon. We got the right adapters and everything now, as you saw before. That's how we're able to weld all that jazz. Don't run very good. That second spark plug's not kicking in. I wonder if I need to do plugs on this thing. We're at almost at 40,000 kilometers on this bike. Probably not a bad idea to do plugs soon. Alright, groceries been got, load them up, head back home. Freaking love Texas. It's hot all the time. This place rocks. Alright, bumper is on, welded, just kind of all pieced together there. Next thing up, we got to weld on the mounts for the clevises. The clevis goes in here, that's what you pull on the bumper when you're stuck. So, two things to note. When you're welding it on here, come over here, we're going to have to zoom in because I don't have a cameraman, we're stuck on a tripod. But when you're welding your mounts on your clevis mounts, I could put it anywhere that I want on here. What I'm not going to do, I'm not going to put it right in the middle. If you're putting all your tension on there, there's nothing behind that. Your bumper, you're going to pull your bumper out like that. So this is where the mounts are, where it's bolted onto the frame. You want to pull on the solid parts of the frame because you want that energy to transfer all the way through as far back into the vehicle as you can. So we're going to weld them on right here. That's where The bolts are on each side of that, in behind there. That's where you're gonna do it. Now, the other thing is, look how thick this piece of metal is. See how thick that is? This is the thickness of all the metal that the bumper is. So what's gonna happen when you start welding that? Well, when I'm welding here, imagine I'm welding right on this edge right here, because that's all I can get to right there. I'm welding right on this edge here. Nothing's contacting in the middle here, okay? This piece of metal is way too thick for that. So what we gotta do is we gotta chamfer that edge down a little bit so that we can get, when you cut that at an angle, you'll see that in a second. When you cut that at an angle, I can start the weld here and then I can work my way out. That way I get a better penetration for this whole thing. Makes it a much stronger mounting point, because the last thing you wanna have happen is when that thing's on there and you're pulling on it and it's right at that very last second before your vehicle pops out or before it starts moving, that's when the most tension is on there. If this weld fires off and breaks off, that's the same as having a chain break off. This thing's going through the window of the vehicle that is pulling you out. You don't want that. So we're gonna make sure this has a real good strong weld. I'm gonna show you how we're gonna bevel this edge on here and get that weld on there a little bit tighter so that we never have a problem. Build it once, build it. Maybe that's overkill for this scenario. I don't know. When it comes to recovery stuff, I never want to have to fix something that's broken because I didn't build it strong enough. Build it too strong, you'll never have a problem. Which is fine, I'm fine with that. So what we're doing now is we're getting the brackets welded on for the lights. So there's two different options here. I can either weld it straight on like this, and then the light can it kind of floats in there a little bit like that. Or if I put it on straight on like that, I just have to cut this angle on there, and then my light can adjust in and out like that instead of kind of at an angle like that. Now, that being said, there is adjustment here and there is adjustment here. So you put both of those together and like, you do have quite a lot of wiggle room in there. I haven't decided what I'm gonna do. Still figuring it out. I feel like I wanna cut it off at an angle like this for a second reason. When you cut it at an angle, there's more surface area that's connected there for when you're welding it together. Because the other thing that I don't want to happen is, imagine this is the inside of the bumper. If this is welded on here and you're going over bumpy stuff, does it then become vibrationary like this and your light's gonna flex? I don't know. That's one of those things you'll kind of figure it out when you're on there. What I can do is, on the inside, if I weld it on there, and then I just weld a little bit of a brace, then you never have any issue like that whatsoever. Problem being is I don't have any scrap metal here to do that with, unless I can find something in the garage. I don't think I have anything in my trunk or my garage toolbox, whatever, the back of the ambo. I don't think there's anything in there for that. Also, I don't know if it's a problem. This metal is super thick on this thing. Everything is wicked sturdy, so is it actually gonna be an issue? I don't know. But I'm the guy who likes to overbuild stuff, so I'd sooner put a brace on there and just not have to worry about it whatsoever. Oh, you know what I just thought of though? If I weld a brace on there like that, how do you get your bolt on there? They're like getting a nut in, that's gonna be an issue. Unless, oh look, I just figured out my own problem. Like this, you bolt it on the side, ta-da. All right, that's me thinking out loud. All right, let's get to it. Okay, so I just cleaned the whole thing down with brake clean now, get all the wax and grease off it. It's not the cleanest that it's ever been, which this is only temporary right now. I'm just painting this with truck bed liner in a can right now, because when I get back home to Canada, I got connections there and I'm gonna get this whole thing powder coated. So we're gonna sandblast the thing down completely, and then we're gonna powder coat it so it matches the bumper on the back. But for now, we just want paint on it and I want it to stick. So clean it all off with alcohol, brake clean, and we'll get this guy painted now. Another thing that we're doing, while the paint is gonna dry on that bumper, I have a set of brand new headlights here. Now, I've built a lot of cool cars in my life, and people would often be surprised that I buy a lot of this stuff on eBay. This is the cheapest set of headlights that I could get, the dark housing headlights. I don't know where you're gonna sit on that fence. Some guys are like, no, I only have to go with the very expensive, cool stuff. I have built the very fancy things where you take this all apart, you're painting housings inside of there. I used to run a hydrographics business where I did like the highest custom artwork stuff, SEMA spec vehicles, all sorts of cool things like that. Retrofit HID housings and stuff into here. Done all that stuff. Didn't want to do that on this thing. I wanted to spend $100 on black housing headlights that just work better than those. Those things are garbage. Factory headlights back in the 2000s, 90s and the 2000s, they were trash. I got these guys here. Now, when it comes to LED headlights, we're putting LEDs in here. We're not putting HIDs in here. That's a whole nother conversation. If you put HIDs into regular halogen housings, you're a cruel person to humanity. Don't do that. But LEDs, different story. There is a difference in LEDs. You gotta know what you're buying for LEDs. There's quality and there's garbage. Buy quality LED headlights. Still, these were off of eBay or Amazon or whatever. I think they were 40 bucks. You just gotta know which ones you're gonna buy. So these ones got an LED strip in the bottom. We're gonna wire those up to some sort of switch. I would like to have this machine running without having the headlights on. It is a Canadian spec thing, so part of Canadian standards are if the vehicle is running, you do have to have some sort of light on and you can't turn it off. This thing is a little bit modified already just because it is an ambulance. They got real funky and fancy with the wiring because the headlights also have flashing stuff in it. And there's something with the forward headlight module that it causes those things to flash sometimes when your park brake doesn't work. And I either have to fix all of that wiring or I just bypass it all, make my own wiring, and that's probably what I'm gonna do because that's faster. And I'll just leave the old wiring in there. Don't run through the factory Ford modules that are now broken. Ford doesn't have a great reputation on that one for the 2000s. That's what we're gonna do while the paint is drying on the bumper. We got blacked out corner lights in here too. Look at that, headlight on there, corner light on there. That's gonna look way better. So let's get to that. All right, guys, we're going handheld real quick here for a second. Bumper is now mounted on, lights are in. Gosh, this thing looks cool. I thought these tow hooks were gonna look kind of dumb with their red in the front. I'm like, oh, I want it to be yellow to match this whole thing. But it actually works really well with the lights here. And then it's hard to see on camera, but I have my Unger Excavating logos up there, which are red. So you got red, red, red. It actually ties in really nice. I'm very happy with it. Ooh, look at this, wow. Sorry, I don't normally do this handheld with this thing. I normally have a thing. I'm just straight holding the camera right now. Yeah, guys, I'm tired, but this thing looks freaking awesome. I still gotta hook up the lights. We're gonna do that probably tomorrow. And then I gotta align the headlights yet too. Other than that, pretty impressed with this. We're gonna get to that. I'm gonna go inside, I'm gonna shower. I'm gonna clean all this stuff up out here. Table, all my work stuff. Got to clean all that up, but that's it for tonight.